I'm just mindful of the time, trying to keep us going. So the other thing is the KPMA website has lots of resources that we can access, and also the code of conduct. Every person on the regional committee should have access, should have a copy of the regional committee handbook. If they don't, then see if you can get somebody to print them out and give them to your committee. The facilities risk assessment, you know, when we go out to have a look at venues, take that with you. This is a way of being warned about any OH&S issues that might be something we should be careful of, and go through and do the ticker box check for that. Resources are available to be accessed by KO regional committees through your churches, testimonies, and as I said before, the Catherine and Steve videos, which is something that we can use for the recruitment, because you know that's where we get more bodies to come and help with the regional committee and helping that way. What other resources haven't been spoken about that you can think of, that you think, oh, I need to tell other regions about that? So resources that are available for you to be accessed. And it's okay if you say something that I've already said, that's fine. But can you think of any resources that the regional committee could access? Well, Anne, thank you.
I've realised that other regions might not have what we do when we read the bedtime story, You Are Special. We have a PowerPoint of every page of the story as well, so that the guests don't have to see, be able to see the pictures in the actual book if, you know, there's a lot of guests or whatever. So I was asking yesterday and they said, well, get that put up on the website so then every region can access that resource. I'm not sure if there are copyright implications, just wondering about that.
I'm kind of thinking there might be copyright implications.
Yeah.
But I think it's good, and we have it on. We have a copy on PowerPoint, so we'll have, you know, one of our chaplains read the story, and they will just flick through it, you know. But we still give them a book. It's even on DVD now, so you can even get the story on DVD. But the Are You Special story, is that the one?
Yeah, the You Are Special. Yep.
So I'll put that down, the PowerPoint of Are You Special, on the website. It could be a copyright issue, but I'll certainly pop it in there. Yeah, Beck?
The other thing I thought of is a resource, not resource list, an expenditure list. KO has a lot of out-of-pocket expenditure that we don't submit at all. And I think sometimes maybe we need to, even if we're not going to claim it, it needs to be submitted. Because we have, all of us, we have deep pockets when it comes to KO. But then if head office doesn't really know how much we're actually pulling out of our pockets, you know, sure, we can still do that, but submit the expenditure list.
Yeah, that's good. I would say on average, a weekend would cost around $10,000, and each team has an allocation of funding bucket that they can use for that. But we usually do spend it, don't we? We usually do spend it and buy other things as well. So it's keeping a list of that, and it's not just about keeping it for ourselves, but it's also about saying to state and the board, this is how much it's costing our volunteers who aren't getting paid. Can you?
But also for our sponsors. If somebody wants to donate to Kairos and they ask, oh, so what does an actual weekend cost? Oh,
yes.
Round about this. Well, like you have worked with now, here's what it actually does, actual cost. Yes. So that could then help get our sponsors to, oh, really? That's how much out of pocket these ladies are.
Yeah, no, that's good. Any other resources that we can think of that could be accessed or we need as regional committees?
When Patty was talking about fuel before, you were saying about grants. You're from New South Wales, and I noticed last night with the chaplain talking that,
Yes.
as he said, New South Wales get 8 million, Queensland gets 1 million. Every state has different amounts the government gives. So maybe we need somebody, I don't know if it's state by state or central, that organises through and knows how grants work, to see what grants are actually available that we can access to help Kairos in all areas. Might be a thought, an idea. So even if it's state by state or a central person that does all of them and the information and applying for them, because you need someone that understands that stuff. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I know that the board have got somebody who's always looking for different grants. But, you know, when you think we're covering Australia, different things are available to different people. So I've just made a note of that, thank you. Yeah.
Something, as a treasurer, I took over and was presented with a whole heap of spreadsheets. Is there any chance that we can get a system to put our stuff straight into?
Okay, I'm going to write that down. I'm just trying to find the words. So it's a system.
Accounting system,
Accounting system, spreadsheets. Can we just ask that question on the microphone, Chris, because we're being recorded? Unless you want to speak here.
I was again just to ask, what are the primary transactions you're putting through? Donations, expenses?
Yeah, and then can we have the microphone go back? Just because I know there's people out there in cyber world that love to listen.
A bit of both, because it depends on the time of the year. So it might only be 1 or 2 transactions sometimes for some months, but then it's all of a sudden it's a heap of outgoings to repay volunteers for different aspects, and then sometimes it's incoming if we have fundraising. So, and we hold different fundraising, and we'd like to try and keep an eye on what each one, instead of just one, you know, it's fundraising. We'd like to separate it into, you know, each type of fundraising that we do to see what's been worthwhile.
Yeah, so Chris, we're kind of like just getting lots of ideas about what our regional committees need at the moment. Not so much the fix-it kind of thing, but we're just getting that. And I think, you know, when you talk about, we've got training for Ezra, we've got training for regional committees, we've got the regional committee handbook training. It may be to drill down and offer some training in the treasurer's role and look at the tools that our treasurers could use to be more effectively. So again, I'm not going into fix-it mode. I'm just saying I've got it down, and that will be something that we can take back as well. Did somebody else have one more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of organisations that will give grants to non-profit organisations. Is there a possibility of having somebody who can tell each committee what grants are available that they can apply for, and have somebody who knows how to, it's a fairly process to get the grant, and you need somebody who knows how to write
a grant.
Write a grant.
Yeah, apply for a grant.
Apply for a grant, yeah.
So I think that could be something that we can, I've made a note of, but it can be a part of that training that treasurers might get, because really we need a specialist in that area, and there may very well be someone on your committee who just loves that sort of stuff, yet there might be that kind of thing that bores somebody else, just glazes over when they start seeing numbers come up. But yeah, so I've got that written down. Thank you.
I was just having a question for the treasurers. I've been a treasurer for far too long, but I just use what Derek provided us. And isn't that adequate?
I guess I come from, my work is a like lots of different systems, and it's just much more automated, makes it easier if it's in a system. But I was trialling for Derek just recently a new spreadsheet, which is supposed to link in with the new maybe database, but yeah, I don't know.
Yep. Ian's going to...
So not in to fix it, but clearly with, we've got Sandra, who's now joining us, replacing for Derek. The opportunity is to look at fresh eyes into how we're doing things currently, and if that's good and fit for purpose, great, or we can do something a little different. The feedback from the treasurers that work through that role at the office is highly valued, and that'll help shape the best sort of outcomes we can get for all treasurers. So recall that we're literally dealing with the better part of 30 regions, and so trying to sort of herd that lot of cats can be quite tricky, but yeah, the point's taken, and we'll see what can be done a little better there.
Yeah, no, that's good.
My point to that would be, please don't make it too complicated, because it's hard enough to get somebody. I haven't had anybody to replace me now in 7 years. I've done the Treasury for 7 years. You make it more complicated and they're going to say, see ya.
Thank you. I'm about to wind it up on that particular slide, because the next one's another good topic that we all want to look at, and that is, what's the division of responsibilities between the regional committee and the team? And I'm going to open it up to the floor, and I'm going to hear from you. And if you say something that I've got down that Patty and I worked on last night, then I'll cross it off and I'll let you talk. So, Ian, I'll get you to facilitate this. When we think about KO, what do we say? KO regions and teams, we might be looking at 35, maybe 38 people on team. And then with the regional committee, we might be looking at 15 people on that as according to the regional committee handbook. So let's open up the floor. Let's think about the division of responsibilities, and code of conduct, the manual and the regional committee handbook marry up as a great document to inform the work that we do. And I have noticed as state chairperson that there are some people who are happy to be on team but don't want a bar of the regional committee. It's like, just let me know when we're, ready to start weekends again. So yeah, think about that. And you might come from a team perspective, or you might come from a regional committee perspective. It's fine either way.
It's Margaret again. I am not aware of struggles that we have between the regional committee and the teams, but we do have as an ex officio, the OL1, the OL2 and the OL1 and the coming leader have ex officio positions on our committee, as indeed does the advising leader. So we have a constant good relationship between the coming team and our committee.
And that group is attending the regional committee to report on their weekend and their progress of the planning, but they've got no voting rights. So they are really just reporting and providing the committee with the updates of work they're doing. Yeah. Becky?
Can you believe it, Sue? I actually forgot the question. Can you believe that?
So what's the division of responsibilities between the regional committee and the team? So it's like if I said, right, we're coming in this door, you're a regional committee person, you're a team person, team person's over here, regional committee person's over there, where would you go, and what responsibilities would you have?
I think that teams don't always know how much say the regional committee has. I think the interpretation on a guest weekend is, you take everything to the advising leader, but not everybody knows that. So I think it's that, and I think sometimes ownership of a set role on a guest weekend when somebody's been in that role for too long, I think that causes more division.
Thank you. Annie?
I think if you were to ask our team to step on either side of the room, there'd be a lot of people going, oh, which side should I go? Because I've got a role in both.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I think sometimes at the moment when we're very lean and going into COVID, we're having to call on people that are on the regional committee to be a part of helping get the weekends back up and going, to start to do those recruitments and getting more people. So yeah, you're right. And you know what? If I was on team, I would be just as happy as well, because it's a real blessing to be on team.
To have the luxury of enough people to be regional committee and team and divide them up.
I think the primary responsibility of a team is focused on the next weekend. So they're very program focused. The regional committee is more long-term focused on the sustainability of the whole movement and looking beyond the next weekend to the one after that and the one after that, and recruitment and fundraising.
Very good.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. In an ideal world, the regional committee, the way I look at it, this might be simplifying it, but the regional committee does the foreground. They do the fundraising, they choose who's going to lead, they do all the background, they do go out to the churches and do all that, and the team is responsible for the weekend. I mean,
Very clear. It's very clear, isn't it? It's very clear with what hat we're wearing when we come in.
That might be the point. That so Joan referencing, there's nothing in that comment that says that you can't mix the roles, because in any organisation, at any time, you'll wear different caps. That's a good analogy for what we're talking about. But it's to be clear what role you're particularly playing at a particular time. That's important. And I think Anne just summarised it very nicely. Strategies all in the hands of the committee, delivery on the weekends with the team, and you may have either hat on. It's just remembering where that hat is, and to a point whether you've had that hat for a period of time and need to move it on.
The one comment that I would make is the fact that the regional committee is responsible for how things do run, and making sure that everybody is doing it correctly.
Very good. Can I just, we'll go to Patty, and then I might do a bit of a summary of different roles, jobs that each have to do, and maybe just do a check-in to see how you feel about that, and whether you think there might be some controversy about who's doing what.
I think really the team has to understand, like the leading part of it, have to understand if you do come to a problem, with a leader, or something has happened on that weekend, the process of what you have to do, that has to go back to the regional committee to talk about if somebody's got to be taken out of that weekend. I think they need to understand that more, the process of it. You know what I mean, Joan?
So if I were to tick off the team, and you may agree or disagree, and I might have put a tricky one in there as well, but if you can pick it up, then that's great. But for the team, they really need a manual, because they're going to be following the manual. They're going to be looking at the supplementary materials that are also provided with the AKT. They will need access to the Ezra. This is the team that is responsible for that, the leader. The team list, which then goes to the regional committee to have it approved by the regional committee. The team don't work in isolation. That's the bottom line. The weekend program needs to be something that the team is responsible for. The leader has the full say in that, and then with her team working at how she will disseminate those roles and responsibilities. The first reunion, now I'll stand corrected on this, but I believe the first reunion after the weekend should be led by the leader, and then I believe that they can be dissolved, and then it goes back to the responsibility of the continuing ministry person on team to facilitate the reunions. But they encourage the leader, we encourage our leaders and people on team to keep coming to the reunions because of the connectedness that we have with the guests. I'm going to move over now to the regional committee. Now, if you have something that you want to think, there might be something else that you've just thought that the team are responsible for. Okay, I'm happy if you want to talk about that now or raise it now if you think there is something that is added that I could add to the list of what the team needs to be responsible for.
Jen, if a team leader in the lead up to a weekend is not following the manual, refuses to follow the manual, refuses to listen to the regional committee, what's the next step? Then
we would follow the manual and follow through. Again, we're not in the fix-it mode, but if we look at the manual, it will tell us the process to follow when we need to deal with a leader who can't manage that team. And so we follow that process. Is there anyone else that would like to add to my list of what the responsibilities are that the team must follow? Good. I will move, and again, not good, but if you think of something, that's fine. Bring it up to us later. So for the regional committee, I'm sort of thinking that their responsibilities are with the contacting the KSO, or in our case, Bruce, to let them know about the weekend coming up, and to make sure that they've got the information on the website to let people know that there is prayer and agape, and who, you know, when that weekend is going to be held. And it also promotes it so that other people who might have a relo in that area can go on the website, have a look and go, oh, I must get in touch with, you know, whoever, Patty Nash, she's having a weekend, I might reach out to her and see if I can get somebody to go for that weekend. The committee meeting place, the regional committee are responsible for that. It could be, you know, the venue we were talking about earlier, Margaret. The regional committee is responsible for buying downloading the copy of Ezra for our leader. They're responsible for the fundraising, not the team. Actually, there might be some controversy over that. The leader might be responsible also to assist with some fundraising for her weekend. Now, I'll stand corrected on that, but I have seen somewhere where the leader, the upcoming leader, may want to help fundraise money for her weekend. That's in the... Great. So continuing ministry, they're responsible for that. As I said, once the first weekend of the weekend's over, then the regional committee steps up and they're then responsible for the reunions and swap groups, but encouraging the team to stay in a part of that. I think I just added 2, and you might think of other things, but making sure there's 2 state reps to go to the state meeting to report, but also to bring reports back. Is there anything else that you can think of? Yes, Margaret. Anne.
Planning advanced Kairos training.
AKT.
So okay, we're going to need another one this year, or no, we don't need it till next year?
Yep. Patty. Gee, you're making Ian work, that's good.
It's actually keeping an eye on your leaders that you're going to keep on, you know, and bringing up to be leaders.
So progression of leaders.
Yep.
Any other things that you can think of that the regional committee would be responsible for? Oh,
As part of your succession plan would be to make sure everybody has done all the appropriate training to carry the role you want them to carry.
yep. Because they're following the Regional Committee Handbook, they're following the manual, they're following AKT, they're following everything to make sure they've got everyone trained, ready. Not trained, but, you know, I got to say, I think this is what you're saying, right? Progression isn't about being the chair and just sitting there forever. It's about a chair who's looking at other people who are now on that committee to be the next chair, or to be, you know, a leader, a chair in training, a secretary in training, a treasurer in training, an assistant chaplain on that committee in training, Agape coordinator, because our job is also to look at people to fill those jobs so that we have a time and expiry date, right? So it's about looking at those continuing progressions as well. Yep.
Just the team actually, sorry, are we talking about the team or the committee now?
Regional committee.
Committee, yeah. So the committee ratifies the team?
Yep.
And also the venue, do they not, for the program?
Yeah, look, I believe that the regional committee decide on a potential leader. They vote on that and then they put that to state for ratification. And then when that person's ratified by state, which goes across all the state, then they must have been able to tick all those boxes off to be successfully given the approval to lead. So the ratification doesn't just sit with the region, it needs to go to state. Yes, Margaret? I love how we have one over here and then we have one over there because it's keeping Ian working.
I had forgotten, and I wasn't aware at the beginning of my start as being secretary, that our minutes always go to the State Council and then they go to the National Council as well. So that's something that keeps everybody in touch.
That's wonderful. That's so good. I'm mindful of the time and I would move to, I don't think I have this one up there, but it's, discussion or question and answers. I've opened it up to the floor. Can we leave just a couple of minutes before, what time are we going for lunch? Is it 1 o'clock? 12. So I'd like to have a bit of a discussion or some question and answer now, which I'll write down. It's not time to give the answers, I guess, but then I'd like to pray for you guys before we leave. Yeah. So Q&A or discussion.
So how many is on the committee?
Microphone, please.
So how many people are supposed to be on the regional committee?
We want to go with 15, ideally. I'll use Joan's word, ideally. But a regional committee will operate with 6. But ideally, that's a good question.
Okay, I've just got a question about Ezra. I know the leader needs a copy. When you said the committee does, I don't understand that.
Sorry, the leader needs a copy of the...
Ezra.
But
does the committee need it? You said the committee does too.
No, the committee, not the committee,
That's
not
what
the
you
region.
said.
Did I? I'm so sorry. The regional committee doesn't need a copy of Ezra, just the leader.
I think you said that the committee is responsible for getting a copy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the leader won't just go and organise that themselves. It's the chairperson who applies for Ezra to be downloaded to the leader.
I thought the leader applies.
I don't know. I was kind of like thinking, I can clarify that for you later, Jane, but to the best of my knowledge, Jane's got a response. Come on, Ian.
Ideally, the regional committee should have an ESRA person who is familiar with the ESRA, who is going to be the person who actually gets the ESRA copy, make sure that the old copy is ready for handover and amalgamates the two, and then gives it to the leader. So it should be well ready to be used by the new leader and not just handed over without that happening.
And I think I was kind of coming from the perspective that as a regional chair, I'd ordered the copy so we could pay for it with the regional funds to then hand on to the leader. So that's all that leader had to worry about. They didn't have to worry about all of the other, all of the other parts of getting that particular tool that they need to use.
Ideally, you have 15 people on the regional committee. What's the minimum you can have on a regional committee? 6.
If it comes down to an ad hoc committee, then we call on the state to help fill the positions and to support the region to get up and going. Beck?
Sue, I just have during this weekend, a lot of ladies have asked a question about the actual weekend. Can I raise that now?
Yeah.
And that question is, on the Friday night when the guests have arrived, are the men who are the kitchen team, dining room team, are they allowed to serve the ladies at dinner? I have spoken to Deb about this, but it's something that a lot of ladies in this room has brought back to me again. So maybe we could just address that.
I won't go against Deb. So you tell me what Deb said.
There we go.
I have been on weekends when we bring them to dinner on the Friday night, and the kitchen team, which consists of the men, are a part of that. Now, I think let's go through the regional committee, the manual, and confirm that. Janice?
We've just not long had our program, and we went through this many times because we were very short at the end of the day of kitchen team members because some fell over sick with COVID just prior. So, but we did just stick to what the manual says, and we didn't have men at the dinner, the welcome dinner
On the Friday night?
Yeah, and because it does definitely say that the men aren't there to serve that night for a good reason when you look at the progression of introducing the women to the idea that there are some men on teams.
Yeah,
so,
awesome. Well, let's have a look at that. Let's go back to the manual and do what the manual says, okay? Is there anything else? Because I'd like to close us off in prayer. Cut you loose, you can go and, get ready for lunch.
I'm sorry, I just can't leave that one alone. I would really like to know where in the manual it says that the men can't be on serving on Friday night. I'd like to look at that myself. But in North Queensland, we just found, we're all driving more than 250 kilometres to get to the venue, and to tell the boys then that you can get afternoon tea ready and you can get everything else ready for dinner and everything else and then go away and hide, it wasn't a happy situation.
Yeah, I think it might not be happy, but we do have angels who can't be seen and heard on the weekend as well. So it's, remember, we've got vulnerable women coming to the weekend. I'm going to go with what the manual says. Sorry? Yeah, so it's about acknowledging what's in the manual and, you know, angels can't be seen and heard. So it's about remembering there are vulnerable women coming who could have been exposed to domestic violence. They could have been exposed to lots of issues to get to that weekend, and we have got to be mindful that when the ladies come, it's like we've got to be mindful of their feelings. And if we're introducing these concepts over the weekend, it's been written from that perspective, then we roll it out as it says, because that's the right time. That's God's time. That's why the manual works. But let's get back to that and clarify it. That'll be your homework tonight, ladies, and we will discuss it tomorrow. We have got 5 minutes. I'd just like to close this off in prayer. Gracious and Heavenly Father, we just give thanks for Kairos. And in particular, Lord, we pray for all the different regional committees that are out there in the trenches working hard. Lord, thank you for the tools that you've given us, and thank you for our ability to be able to learn, and thank you for this conference where we have the chance to come together, raise the issues, discuss, share, and Lord, I pray, would you bless my friends for all the work they do, Lord, out there doing the ministry, supporting women who've been impacted by having someone from their family or a friend in jail, and how hard that is, Lord. So as we leave this meeting, I pray that you will continue to work in us, stir up the spirit of love and compassion, and just, Lord, teach us to listen, love. For this I ask as we go to lunch now. I pray for these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, put your chairs